So I'm Sabrina Nelson. Thank you guys for coming to Michigan House. And I'm going to talk about failure. I'm really good at it. Failure, that is. So, my story begins in 1980 something, more like 85. I was a senior in high school. I was educated at Cooley, Thomas M. Cooley High School on Detroit's west side. Some of the best Pewabic pottery tile you will ever imagine in the water fountains that didn't work. I was a senior in high school before I went to my very first college fair. And I always knew I was going to college, but in my mind it was Michigan State because that's where my neighbors went. And the young woman who babysat me, she went to Michigan State. When they had Little Sisters Week, I went to visit her. And so that's the only college that I could think of from the age of 11 all the way until I was a senior in high school, so I didn't need to think of any other college. My family used to ask me, and people used to ask me as a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And for me, I never knew the answer to that question. My answer was always what I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be a secretary. I didn't want to be a nurse. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to work in the plant. I didn't want to work at the bank. I didn't want to be a teacher. And I just couldn't think of what I wanted to be. I was already an artist. And I didn't know you had to grow up to be what I already was. So, in my senior year of high school, I had already had my first child. I had my first child when I was in the 10th grade. I went to Cooley High School. I left Cooley High School, went to a maternity school to discover that I was a genius. I did not know that when I was at Cooley because there were too many kids around me and too many distractions. In a smaller classroom where it was just me and maybe two others, I discovered that I was pretty smart and I didn't know it beforehand. And at that time, the English teacher used to ask me questions about my future and what I wanted to do after I left the school. And I would give her the same answers. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I may be going to Michigan State. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do. But when I would turn in my assignments, I always had drawings on my assignments. And she said, well, maybe you should be an artist. I said, well, I'm already an artist. So in my head, you don't grow up to be what you already are. You grow up to be something that you go to college for, and then they tell you what your degree says, then that's what you are. So in my mind, I couldn't figure out that the two were connected. So in my senior year, after going back to my home school, Cooley High School, I went to my first ever college fair. The only college rep that I met there that I was even remotely interested in was the college rep from Kendall College of Art and Design. I'd never even heard of a school that was for art and design only. And so I was like, oh my God, this is it. I get to go to school to be what I already am, and I get a degree in it, and I'm already that. This is gonna be easy. This is really great. So I went home. I took all of the books. I went home and I explained to my grandmother that I want to go to this school that is an art college where I can get a degree in something that I really feel excited about. And she said, okay, well, let's look it up. Let's find out more about it. So we looked it up and we discovered that Kendall College of Art and Design was in Grand Rapids. It wasn't in Detroit. And they did not have housing. Now remember, I have a baby. I'm a senior in high school and I have a baby. So my grandmother says, well, they don't have housing and you can't leave your baby because this is your baby. So you can't go to school over there and leave your baby over here. So you have to figure something else out. So in my mind, I'm not going to college to be what I already am because that's the only college that exists in my world that will give me a degree in art and design. So the summer came, I graduated from high school, I didn't apply, I didn't even think about any other school. Michigan State was off the map because I'm an artist. My grandmother worked for the state of Michigan and so did my mom. So I got a job, a summer job. The summer job was with a guy named Rob Kangas, who happened to be a graduate from CCS in the creative department. He was in graphic design. Now the building at that time, it was MESC, Michigan Employment Security Commission. It was on the corner of West Grand Boulevard or East Grand Boulevard and Woodward. And It was on the top floor, which is now a police station. I think it's a main police station now. And so I'm working in Rob's office. I'm in the creative office because they asked me when I filled out the form for the summer job what I wanted to do, and I saw creative, so I put my name in that department. I ended up working in the graphic design department. And he was labeling videos and doing things, and he says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm already an artist. This answer keeps coming up. I keep telling people, why don't they listen? So I say, I'm already an artist. I have a baby. I can't go to Grand Rapids because I can't leave my baby here because this is my baby. So there's nothing else that I could do except for work for you, and I don't know, I'm not going. He said, well, why aren't you going to school? And I said, because there's no other school. And he looks at me and he says, yes, there is. There's CCS. And I said, CC who? He takes me to the window. Now, we're probably on the 8th or 9th floor of that building. He said, right there. And you could see CCS from there. Now, I've been to the DIA quite a few times. I had never heard of CCS, and not one rep ever came to Cooley High School. I'm cool with it, whatever. I just didn't know. I was just ignorant to it. And he says, well, I'm going to call somebody. I'll make an appointment, and I need you to bring some drawings with you. I said, oh, you want some drawings? I got a lot of drawings. So I think the next week, he dropped me off at CCS, Center for Creative Studies. That was probably in '85. He dropped me off in the admissions office, which was in the building now, actually in the Yamasaki building on the campus. I do work at CCS right now. So he drops me off. I have an appointment. I go in the office. I have an appointment with 3 people. They are all smoking. None of them look like me. They are all white. I come from an all-black neighborhood. There's nobody in my neighborhood who looks like them. My high school, no one in my high school who looks like them except for some of the teachers, a few. So I go in, I have my sketchbook, and I'm ready. And I got some good sketches. Now, I am the shit in my mind and in my sketchbook. Because I've copied Binky a billion times out of Jet Magazine and Ebony, and I am a professional artist. Okay? So I've copied every CD, well, not CD, but it was record. Then every vinyl record that I liked and every magazine picture that I liked, and I put it in my sketchbook. I didn't have art in Cooley. So I had 4 years of sewing. So I was the best seamstress that year. I made all of the clothes for the fashion show. I was amazing. But I could not have art because I was in a college prep program, which I didn't get it. So I come in and I have my sketchbook. I'm sitting there in this one room, and it's 3 admissions counselors. Now they're all smoking. I smell a little bit of liquor because I know what that smells like, and that's not alcohol, it's liquor. At the time, Mr. Mike's was well used by CCS. So I'm in there. There are 3 reps. One of them's name is Janice Bergstrom. She was just fire, and she was real drunk. And so they're all sitting there chain smoking. All 3 of these white people. Now I'm in there with my sketchbook, and I'm the shit in my head. And they're saying, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I would like to illustrate children's books. Okay, so you want fine arts. Okay, so let's see what you, and that's not fine arts, by the way. Let's see what you have. So they take my sketchbook, and all 3 of them are sitting on one side of the table, and I'm just like us. And I'm on this side, and I'm looking at them like, and they're looking at me like, she's so cute. She's just so cute. And they're literally saying that. So they flip through my sketchbook. Some of the pages are kind of coming out. My craftsmanship wasn't on point. I didn't know. So they're looking and like, And so then they said, well, yeah, you're not ready. They literally said that. They didn't ask me any questions about my drawings, what medium, anything. What they meant to me. They were like, oh, no, you're not ready. No. And so then I looked and I said, ready for what? They said, well, you don't have a portfolio. I said, well, what is a portfolio? They said, you need a bag. You need a collection of works. And I said, well, I didn't know I had to have a bag. He didn't tell me that. He told me to bring some drawings. And they said, well, you're just not ready. And I said, so that's it? So that's it? And they said, yeah, you're not ready. You can't come in. Now, I smelled the alcohol. Everybody's smoking. I'm in here dying, and they got my drawings, and they're just looking at them. And I'm like, are they making fun of me? I mean, this shit ain't cool at all, because I'm the shit. And I'm already an artist. And I'm at an art school that's in Detroit, and you telling me I'm not ready? So they hand me back my sketchbook. They push it across the table. I take it, and I look at them. And if I were a dog, I would have taken my tail and put it up under me and my ears, and I would have walked out like that. But I took my book, and I was like, yeah, all right. And I walked out of the office, and there was a payphone in front of the Yamasaki building at that time. I picked up the payphone, I called Rob, and I was like, yeah, they say I can't come in. I don't know, they tripping, they drunk, they white, they hate me. Rob was like, I'll be there to get you in a minute. I'm sure they don't hate you. Yeah, they hate me. They hate me. They hate my drawings. I ain't got a bag. How come you didn't tell me I needed a bag, man? I needed a bag. I don't have no bag. So I hang up the phone, and at that time, I walk around the campus. I give myself a tour, an unguided tour. I walk in classrooms, and I say, excuse me, can I see what you're drawing? Oh, hell yeah, I can draw better than that. And I walk like all through the trans department, the fine arts department, the illustrate. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know. I just see cars and people in drawings, and I'm like, oh, can I see that? Okay. All right. And I leave the campus. And that was my rejection. And after that, about 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a rejection letter, and I looked at it. Pissed me off quite nicely. And that's my story.